Okay, Nancy, over to you. Math and the playground. How did you connect the two, and what was the problem, and how did you solve it?
So as a model school for inner city, one of our missions was to take a social justice approach to learning. And we decided that we wanted to, in my first year at George Webster, we formed a volunteer group called Radical Math. And the Radical Math group met with a professor at OISE and looked at how could we teach math through a social justice lens, and how could we teach social justice through math. In the second year, we formalized a little bit, and we joined a seminar at OISE so that 5 teachers and I went once a month to learn about culturally responsive pedagogy and math and learning. We decided to do it through the lens of math. So we were looking at how can we make the math really, really relevant to our students and their lives. And so we all became co-researchers. The teachers, the parents, the students, the staff, all of us decided to investigate a question, and the question was, or a problem, and the problem was behavior on the playground. We knew the kids were pretty well behaved in the classroom, but when there was those long stretches of less supervised time, that's when things went a little bit awry. So from grade 1 to grade 5, the students looked at their data management stream of the math course, and they did some research on social interactions in the playground. And the story we tell in the book is about these 2 grade 4 boys who were pretty unremarkable in terms of them being students. They were lovely boys, but they weren't exactly on fire in the classroom. But these 2 boys noticed, I'd shared some data with them we'd been collecting data about when incidents happened on the playground, and we sorted it and kind of looked at the types of incidents and gender and where on the playground, all those kinds of things. And they noticed that there were more incidents at lunch and at afternoon recess than in the morning. But when they looked at the teacher supervision schedule, they noticed that the teachers were spaced out equally across the day. There were just as many teachers in the morning as later in the day. So their first solution was, let's put more teachers on the playground at lunch and in the afternoon. And they took this to their teacher, Robin Coyle, wonderful grade 4 teacher. And she said, that's a great idea, but we actually have a rule about how many minutes each teacher can spend on supervision, and everybody's already spending that time, so what are we going to do? So the boys went away, and they looked at the supervision schedule, and they looked at the data, and they decided that they would suggest a reconfiguration of the schedule to match the data and also match the places on the playground where things were happening. And for those of you who are educators, every school has a staffing committee, which is like the representatives of the staff to talk about things like schedules. So these 2 grade 4 boys, prepared a presentation, spoke to our staffing committee, and presented a new supervision schedule that had the same number of minutes but reflected the data that they were seeing as they looked at the patterns. And the staffing committee unanimously voted to change the schedule. And we like to say that was probably the first time in the history of the school, the history of any school, where 2 grade 4 students were able to influence the workings of the staffing committee and the supervision schedule at their school. And beyond that, the kids thought of other things to prevent difficulty from happening. So we started a partnership with Right to Play, which is a global organization, where the kids would, with parents, provide games on the playground during the hotspot times to prevent people from getting into trouble. And what was great about that was that the kids who were getting into trouble tended to be recruited to be leaders for the Play Leaders program, and so they weren't getting into trouble anymore because they were preventing other people from getting into trouble. So we were able to show through math that there was actually a decrease in the number of discipline incidents from the beginning of the project to the end of the project, and many of those structures that began probably about 7 or 8 years ago are still in place now at George Webster. So it's pretty exciting that they were able to take their experience and make a real difference in their school in a permanent kind of way.
That's super. Great. Go. This is the stuff that gives us hope, right?